We have one of those members of Congress with us this morning, Florida Congressman Gus Bilirakis. He's calling on FEMA now to retract those funds to ACORN, and he joins us on the Curvy Couch.
Hey, good morning, Congressman.
Nice to see you.
Good morning to you, Congressman. Thanks for being our guest.
Hey. How you doing?
So was it surprising for you, Congressman, to have all of a sudden, when so many votes have come up about defunding or reprimanding ACORN, all of a sudden the Democrats this time, by a pretty commanding vote, 345 to 75, said, I agree with you, let's defund it?
Yeah, I want to know what the 75 were thinking. But
all Democrats.
I was very, very happy that happened, and also in the Senate as well. So, but we got to get it signed into law.
Right.
You know, we can't let up.
So there's a few elements to this. Number one, the Senate said 83-7, let's defund it. At 345 to 75, let's defund it. So you just imagine it being a formality as they go into Congress.
Well, it's got this particular bill, you know, whatever bill it gets on finally, the president has to sign it, so we can't let up.
So it's got no
It's got to be done. It doesn't have any effect right now.
It's got no effect or authority under law at this point.
Not at this point.
Not until President Obama actually signs it.
We still have a lot of work.
Now, you've written a letter, and you're angry about the fact that FEMA, the Federal Emergency Management Administration, is about to let $1 million to ACORN on a fire program, of all things.
A fire program. Can you imagine?
What is that about? Tell us.
Well, they gave a fire grant to ACORN, and you know, most of these grants have been doled out to fire departments.
And this
they
is
want
in
to
New
give
Orleans.
$1 million in New Orleans to ACORN. We can find we can fire a fire district that can handle
There's something
that.
called the ACORN Institute, which is not an expert in fire prevention or fire management.
Of course not.
In any way.
Yeah, but they shouldn't be receiving any federal funding. ACORN should not be anyway.
Congressman, let me ask you this, because it's such a complicated issue, because the funding to ACORN is not just as simple as saying we're going to defund them. There are specific areas to defund, right? Like there's a student aid bill. There's the HUD part of the program, which is the housing part that originally the Senate voted to defund.
The voter registration.
The voter registration. So it's not like we should just paint this as if we're defunding the whole program. There's bits and pieces, right?
Well, we have to continue to work on it, but the language yesterday that was passed out of the House was all-inclusive.
Okay.
So I was very pleased with that language, and that's the language we have to get the president to sign.
And now ACORN saying themselves, they're going to get out of the voter registration business because it's so polarizing. He says if you register people on a large scale, you open yourselves up to political attacks.
How much fraud?
Is it a political attack?
Voter fraud, for crying out loud.
Yeah.
But where was everyone else during the campaign? Because we ran countless snippets of video where you had different organizations associated with ACORN going up to people. We had it on tape where they were telling people how to vote. Where were members of Congress then?
Yeah, well, they should have been there, and you know, I was on your side, but not enough of us were. And now, at least because of Fox, you've attracted the attention, and we're on it, and we're going to do something.
But let's talk fair and balanced, as Fox always does. A lot of people on the left say it's just you Republicans. You're obsessed with ACORN. You're being racial about this. You're picking on these people. Why is this fraud with ACORN important to all the American people, Democrats and Republicans?
This is taxpayers' dollars. Okay, and you know, it's corruption.
So you're saying they shouldn't be involved?
And it's not just Republicans who are angry. The independents and some Democrats are angry as well, all over the country.
Well, obviously, in the House of Representatives, over almost 350 representatives.
Should have been unanimous, but yeah, we'll take that.
You know, we see Griff Jenkins hunting down the senators, the 7 senators that voted to not to defund, to continue to fund these organizations. They said, well, I'm just too worried about other people who are depending on ACORN to get mortgages, legitimate people. They will be hurt.
It's a corrupt organization that should not be receiving federal funds.
Here's what's so disingenuous to me, though. You have the CEO of ACORN, Bertha Lewis, who originally, when these undercover tapes started coming out, what immediately did people at ACORN do? They blamed Fox.
Yeah.
They said, oh,
entrapment.
well, entrapment, and they got set up. And then what did they do? They fired some of the workers and still said that they were going to sue Fox as a result. And now, 5, 6, 7 days later, Bertha Lewis is saying, you know what? We're going to clean up our act. We're not going to take any new clients until we can be assured that we have the trust back from the public. That is so disingenuous.
I agree.
Why weren't they looking into their own programs by themselves a long time ago?
We need to conduct a federal investigation, Justice Department, and we can't let up on this.
Well, this is just the tip of the iceberg, isn't it? The student aid bill.
Sure.
And now you're writing about handing out smoke detectors and carbon monoxide detectors. What is ACORN doing involved with this? But we know that they've received tens of millions of dollars and they have the capacity to receive billions of dollars under federal and state law. How do we get at all of these different nooks and crannies that they're involved with?
The House bill is all-encompassing. I read the House bill, that particular legislation, so we've got to push for that to be signed.
And I got something else. Michelle Malkin writes a column today. As early as 2005, there was a deal done between ACORN and Citibank where up to $44 billion were given to residents to go out and sign up people in these subprime loans that were illegals.
Yeah.
Forge documentation and get these people homes in our country that don't even belong here. This is millions of dollars, and it goes full circle. Guess who owns Citibank now? The government.
Yeah.
Or the
That's why
taxpayer, I should say.
Yeah. Yeah, it's awful.
Do you have concerns
Outrageous.
when you speak out against ACORN? Do you have concerns that ACORN's going to come into your district and they're going to lobby and work to get you?
I'm not worried about that. We've got to do the right thing. This has gone on too long. Yeah.
Let's talk about another big story that's down in your state of Florida. We've been covering it here on our show, I know that, about these two school officials who had the audacity to say a simple prayer at a function where students were not present, and they were criminally charged. Now, it turns out, speaking of coming full circle, that they were found not guilty.
Right.
The judge did say to them, look, you got to keep the separation of church and state, but you're not going to go to prison for this. Was it the right move?
Correct ruling. Correct ruling. And what has this world come to where we're criminalizing prayer? We need prayer now more than ever. So, you know, we just got to continue. Well, we had 60 members of Congress sign a letter, and that's another issue that we have to do. I mean, this was a simple act of prayer, and you know, they tried to prosecute them. And thank goodness the judge made the right decision.
Did you run any town halls?
I had town hall meetings, and I had several meetings. Well, they went real well, and it's not just Republicans coming out. Independents, people are really concerned. They're angry.
Well, that's true.
On a lot of issues.
Yep.
Well, we're going to continue to cover those, and we appreciate you coming in this morning,
My pleasure.
Congressman. Thanks for getting up so early and joining us on the couch.
My pleasure. My pleasure.
All right, stick around for the rest of our show, because this is what's coming up. Liberals playing the race card against conservatives.